Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Welcome to the bonus show. I saw an article here about a man who has 14 DUIs. This is in Omaha. The man had 14 DUIs, 73-year-old man, Lee Edward Collins. And he was recently just arrested because he was discovered passed out at his vehicle at a stoplight at 11:20 at night. And when deputies approached him, they said he smelled like alcohol, and he remained in jail on suspicion of driving under the influence and driving on a suspended license. Now, here's my question: at what point, what number DUI should you be just locked away permanently? Should that ever happen? Because clearly, this is a man who is never going to stop drinking and never going to stop driving, despite not having a license.
Right. Well, I was going to say, we have very clear laws about when you lose your license. In Massachusetts, I think it was like on your third DUI or something like that, you lose your license, and that's it. You can never have a license again, certainly in that state. And I don't know if even in other states, I don't know if it transfers. At a certain point, you're going to keep driving. Not having a license, as we know, doesn't physically keep you from driving a vehicle. And I don't know what the answer is to that. I mean, some states have these 3-strike rules, and as we know, those lead to putting nonviolent offenders in prison for relatively minor crimes in many cases, often connected with the war on drugs. When we look at driving under the influence, that is a violent crime in the sense that it has huge potential to actually, and it does almost daily or more in this country, lead to people dying. So I don't know what the answer is. If you have 5 DUIs, is that life in prison? Is it 6 DUIs? I don't really know. And then the other issue is our entire sentencing guidelines are so wrought with political influence, I guess is what I'm saying, that the problem will come if you ask this question in relation to other things. It will seem like too harsh or not harsh enough of a penalty because of these sentencing guidelines that exist for so many other crimes.
Right. So I don't know what the answer is. It can be hard to, you have to assume that if this man is drinking to the point where he's passed out in his car and has been caught 14 times for driving under the influence, that this is a man who gets completely shit-faced and obliterated and drives all the time. I think this is a man that needs to be in prison for life, to be perfectly honest. But if you disagree, let me know. I don't know. If he hasn't killed anyone or himself, obviously he hasn't killed himself. I mean, it's pretty much a miracle at this point. But then again, I don't know. Maybe he's in an area where it's the population is spread out, sparse, and there's just not as high a risk of crashing into another vehicle. But I don't know. Certainly that's no excuse. Although a while ago we did cover that story in Ireland.
I was just thinking of that, yeah, where we actually said that the drunk driving there seems to lead to very few deaths because it's very rural areas, right? And there's just not very many people around or driving.
Right. And if you don't remember that story, there was a mayor, I don't know, someone who basically wanted to say that it was okay for people to be over the legal limit in certain situations, or they wanted to increase it for people who had to drive long distances just to get somewhere where they could have a drink because they lived in areas where that was essentially impossible. So that, DUIs, definitely a problem in this country. The penalties, those initial penalties are not harsh enough, but at the same time, I think maybe we need to be a bit better about deciding, exercise some discretion in deciding who gets a DUI and who isn't really a danger.
You told that really interesting story from
Sweden. If we're going to have
remember?
those harsher penalties. Yeah, the story from Sweden where, we were drinking downtown and we told people that our hotel was way back near the airport. It's like 40 minutes away. And they said, "Oh, you taking a cab back?" I said, "No, I'm driving." And they couldn't believe it. They were in shock. They're like, "No, you can't do that." I'm like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "You can't drink and drive. You don't do that here."
But Lewis, you weren't actually driving in Sweden. I didn't think you had rented a car there.
No, I did. Yeah.
Oh,
I did. I rented a car, so I had to drive back. Well, I didn't have to, but but I did anyway. I wasn't drunk. I think over the course of the night I had 2 or 3 beers and I was down there for a while. But still, they said, it's zero tolerance there. If you have any alcohol in your system, you're effed. Yeah.
And it seems to actually work. People say, why even chance this? If I'm drinking, I'm not driving, period. And that's it.
That's it. It works. And I think it's too late for that here, unfortunately. Here's an interesting story. This is something I was completely unaware of. I received this from David. He sent me this story. It was a special on, do you remember the show that this was on?
I don't remember offhand, no.
It's one of those investigative shows, but it's about hard drives in copiers. And I had no idea that there were hard drives in copiers. And when I think about it, technologically, it makes sense that there might be a hard drive in a copier that temporarily stores files as they're being copied.
Not only that, but you would think that the firmware for the copiers is stored on some kind of disk.
That's true. That, of course, that would be necessary. But I would just assume that these copiers would overwrite or delete the information as it's copied. That is not the case. Most copiers apparently have multiple hard drives, and they just store everything that gets copied. And it's, I guess it's a huge security concern. Excuse me, because you can essentially go to a used copier store and purchase these copiers, which a lot of people do because they're so damn expensive, and access all of the information that's on those. And did you watch it, David?
I saw part of it. You basically can see everything that's been copied on the machine. I mean, it's just it's complete. There's just a record there of anything. When you copied your hand or those secure documents or whatever, there's a record of it.
Now, I don't know if the people selling these machines know where they come from, but on this show, they went and bought a couple of copy machines, took out the hard drives, and with some free software, got all the information, all these copies off the hard drive. And it was incredible what they turned up. Some of these things had been in police stations. Some of them had been used in medical establishments. So they're looking at people's medical records. They're looking at criminal records. They're looking at all sorts of information. And it's incredible. And they interviewed someone from Sharp, who apparently Sharp at one point tried to notify the public that this is happening with copiers, that this is something people need to be aware of. And he said that people didn't pay attention, people didn't care. And on certain Sharp copiers, you can, for an extra $500 or something, you can get an option that deletes everything as you go.
Right, that's a special option. This reminds me of something very basic about laptops and computers and et cetera that people may not know, which is if you have a Windows computer, for example, and you have, I don't know, some files you want to get rid of, and you select them and you delete them and you even empty the recycle bin in Windows for using Windows as an example. Those files are not physically gone from the hard drive. What the computer operating system has done is kind of marked those files to be physically overwritten when it is needed, right? So until you actually put new files or, your Outlook email backup file grows or whatever, the files are kind of marked as available to be overwritten, but physically they're on the drive. Only when you actually do a full format are those files actually gone.
Right. So it's that's why you can do those restores. Of course, you can go back to a previous point or whatever. But yeah, deleting things is on your computer is not what it seems. That information does stick around. All right, David, let's play this voicemail.
All right, let's take a listen.
Hey, David, this is Dion from Virginia, currently in Pennsylvania, on my way to Utah.
Okay.
I was calling in regards to a segment that you and Lewis covered on the bonus show, talking about Uganda having the being the most anti-gay, but yet still having the most search for gay porn. And I was calling to, I guess, give you my theory of why I believe that is so. So I guess I'll explain by saying that I'm a truck driver. So when I'm out on the road away from home, I do at times watch porn. But when I go home to my girlfriend, I don't watch porn.
Right.
Because, there's no reason for me to watch it if I have somebody at home willing to engage with me sexually. So, with that being said, I have a feeling that what's going on in Uganda is the gay population probably feels somewhat intimidated to go out into the world and find these, to go out in the world and actually have these actual human interactions. Probably out of fear for their safety. We already see what's going on in Russia.
This is interesting. The logic is actually very sound here, which is it doesn't imply there are more gay men in Uganda. What it suggests is, given an equal population of gay people in the U.S., for example, and in Uganda, in the U.S., because more people are not afraid of being identified as gay, they choose gay relationships over gay porn. In Uganda, because of the extreme anti-gay laws, you don't have a higher percentage of gay people. You just have more of the gay population abstaining from anything that is actual, like an actual in-person relationship, and they're choosing the gay porn over the relationship, which would suggest that could be a reason for why gay porn is so heavily searched in Uganda. The logic is actually quite sound.
I agree. Yeah, and we didn't really consider that, but certainly it makes sense. I mean, if you're worried that you'll be put to death by, if you engage in that type of activity, well, what are you going to do? You're going to go to Google. Right.
You're still gay. It doesn't make you not gay. It just makes it so that you're searching for gay porn instead of being in a relationship.
If anything, this should be more evidence to them that this is something that you can't cure or just choose not to do. And I guess the same law could apply to plenty of other countries.
Imagine that. Imagine if Uganda was able to realize that gayness wasn't a disease that you can cure simply by outlawing being gay. That would be a big step, just if they realized that.
It would be a pretty big step. Unfortunately, you've got people in Uganda telling everyone that gay people eat each other's poop and take tons of drugs when they fist each other because it's so painful.
Right.
Anyway, once again, I'm referencing the Eat the Poo Poo video, which is incredible.
That's incredible. That's David Bahati, right?
Actually, I don't know the guy's name, but I know that whoever it is, he's one of the people who is at the forefront of this propaganda campaign.
Yeah. Hey, let me say a quick word about the Indiegogo campaign. Thanks to some big contributions over the weekend, including $400, $1,000, $1,500, $2,500, and $3,500, Louis. Incredible. We now are really on a roll with this Indiegogo campaign. It may be a reality. If you've been waiting to see, are they even going to raise a quarter of the money? Are they even going to raise a third of the money? Are they even going to raise half of the money before I donate? It's time. It is absolutely time to make those contributions. We want to keep the momentum going. Go to davidpakman.com, click on the blue Indiegogo banner. Still plenty of perks available. That's it for the bonus show. See you tomorrow.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.